Good evening. According to my clock, it is 4 p.m., but according to the time, it is 5 p.m. on Monday, March 9th. And I would like to call this committee of the whole meeting of the Lansing City Council to order, and let the record reflect that all members are present, except for Councilmember Cost, who does have an excused absence this evening.
No roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. We do a roll call here. We'll do a roll call. Okay.
Councilmember Carter.
Time change got me.
Here. Councilmember Garza. Here. Councilmember Hussein. Here. Councilmember Cost. Councilmember Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Navarez Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Pelivanoglu.
Present.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
7 members present.
And even with a roll call, Councilmember Cost is excused this evening. The first item of business is our February 23rd minutes. I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I move the minutes from February 23rd, 2026 as presented.
Thank you, Vice President Pelivanoglu. That is a proper motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. This evening, we were anticipating a bit more public comment than the audience might suggest we might have this evening. So doing public comment a little different this evening. We're going to do some presentations about agenda items, and then we will vote on the agenda items after the public has a chance to weigh in. But there is a sign-up sheet in the back. So anyone wishing to give public comment this evening, please utilize the sign-in sheet. And as the room may or may not fill up, we'll make that announcement a couple more times in between presentations. But if you wish to address the committee on items on the agenda, you may sign up in the back with the sign-up sheet, and then before we start that, our intern back there from the clerk's office will bring the sign-up sheet up to the room. Our first presentation today comes from the chair of the Elected Officers Compensation Commission, Derek Milo. We have in the past had the commission come in and share with us their process and thinking along the way to sometimes make a smoother, more transparent and process between their work and our work here at the City Council. So to that end, we've asked Mr. Milo to come in, and he is obliged. So Derek, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you all their members of the council sitting as the committee for the invitation. As Peter mentioned, my name is Derek Milo. I am chair of EOCC. This cycle, I've been on the commission about 10 years. This is my second go-round as chair. As you may be aware, the EOCC is a charter-created entity designed to depoliticize decisions involving compensation for elected officials in the city of Lansing, specifically the offices of mayor, clerk, and of course, city council and its officers. We meet generally starting in early February, then we start a clock where I believe it's 40, we have to complete our work in 45 days. The good news is we still have plenty of time on that front. Members of the commission are nominated by the mayor, confirmed by the council. I'm in my second term, I think. Is that right? Yeah, okay. Sorry, I didn't read all my notes. We've been meeting since around the first week of February, and I can say the discussions so far have really centered around 2 major themes. One was we wanted to take a good look at what the city was doing with all of its union contracts moving forward to see what the annual amounts, if increases were available and landed through the negotiations. So we've been tracking that. Another theme that was brought forward by a commission member, I asked about a comparison all the way back to 1991. So what I did in that case was I took everybody's position pay from 1991, used the federal BLS inflation calculator and spun that number up to the end of 2025 and then compared it to what you're actually receiving right now. Sherry has all of this data. I'm just going to go over it very, very quickly in the interest of time. I know you have a busy calendar tonight. The mayor is actually well below where the position was in 1991 when you adjust, about $25,000 below. The clerk, after quite a bit of work in the last cycle, the clerk was actually brought up to where that position's above inflation, but I would add an asterisk to that because the clerk's position has become more complicated since 1991, especially in dealing with all of the marijuana licensing. Council positions, the president, council VP, and council member, you're all just slightly below where you would be if we were just doing inflation from 1991. You're close. We're almost there. This has been a pet project of mine on the commission to get this inflationary factor dealt with, because for so long nothing really happened as far as compensation, and so positions fell way behind, and we've spent the last 10 years trying to stabilize that. Those are the two major things we've been discussing. We haven't done any formal proposals or voting yet. I would expect we're going to see some of that at our meeting on Thursday. But that's really where we've been centering our discussions right now, is dealing with both inflationary going forward via the city contract, seeing what the playing field is there, and then also looking back to try to bring all of your positions to where they were, at least where they were, 35 years ago. And I'm happy to answer any questions that I can.
Questions? Yeah, Councilman Hussein.
Yeah, and we really appreciate what you said, 10 years of service now? It's incredible, man. In terms of soliciting, is there any, it's a tight timeline, I understand that, but is there any effort to solicit, and of course your meetings comport with Open Meetings Act, but to solicit public input? Are there any surveys, neighborhood meetings, and those types of things?
We have not incorporated surveys or neighborhood meetings. As you pointed out, our sessions are governed by the Open Meetings Act and the Freedom of Information Act. Attendance by the public or the media tends to be sporadic. You don't see it unless somebody's really exercised about something. It's mainly, one of the myths we're always trying to bust on the commission is that out in the public sense, they see this process and they start to view it as a performance review of the individuals currently in the seats. And that's not the case. It's more of what I would call an HR classification process, which is, hey, we have these jobs with these responsibilities. What is a fair market rate to be paying these positions for this work? And of course, there's a big split, obviously, between full-time with the clerk and the mayor and part-time for the city council. I know it's not a part-time gig, but officially you're listed as a part-time gig. Yeah, we have not had any public attendance so far through our process. So that's it. It can enhance, but we're not necessarily going out into the community, but we're also happy to take feedback.
No, and I think that's fair. In the past, you guys have used, I'm trying to think of some of the benchmarks and criteria. You guys have used, data from similarly sized cities, or maybe similarly structured governments, or maybe even similarly sized cities, but then you're also considering median household income. Obviously, there have been a number of iterations of the OCC. Are you guys looking at any of that?
Yes, that's pretty standard for us, that this city staff produces this big spreadsheet that they compare comparable cities like Dearborn, Flint, Rochester, a few others, and show us data on what form of city government do they have. As you know, we have a strong mayor here in the form of government. Some cities our size do not have that. They have a manager council format. So we do have that data. We look at that in calculating. As I recall our discussion the other day, when we were going over that data, Lansing looks pretty much kind of right in the middle, some higher, some lower. Definitely not an outlier in either direction.
And then just last, just circling back to the first question, should somebody want to attend a meeting? We know that we established by resolution the first meeting date and place. Are you guys meeting 10th floor City Hall? And when?
Yes, our next meeting is Thursday, back behind you there in a conference room. Sherry, remind me what time, are we noon on Thursday? Noon. Yeah, so when the commission meets, its first meeting, and then we have an organizational meeting, and then it's, okay, figure out calendars. that tends to be the most complex part of that meeting is like, okay, who can be here and ensure we have a quorum? Because the commission is full of busy people who are moving hither and yon all the time. And then, of course, there's situations where the commission chair puts the wrong time in his calendar and gets buzzed by city staff asking, where the heck are you? But we managed to get through that bump thanks to the work of the vice chair.
Councilmember Navarez-Martinez.
Yeah, so in your analysis, when you're looking into similarly sized cities and places like that, do you take into consideration whether these bodies have staff for the councils where they may not be doing constituent services or policy analysis versus whether they are?
I don't believe there's a line on the spreadsheet that talks about council staffing. It's a little more simple than that. It's mainly just, size of the council, full or part-time, and then their compensation. I would believe, and I haven't done any research on this lately, I presume both Flint and Dearborn provide staff to their council. Obviously, we're not going to compare to Detroit as a complete outlier. But again, as I recall the spreadsheet, we're pretty much right in the middle.
I asked just because when it comes to compensation, the amount of work you're doing, whether you have people who do constituent services for you or not, really affects the amount of time that you're putting
Right,
into
yep.
it. So just something to put out there.
Sure. I just would say again, you're officially listed as part-time. We all know that you're not doing this at 20-hour-a-week pace. But that's how we have to approach it, just because the way the commission's structured.
Other questions? Thank you, Mr. Milo. I just remind folks, and Greg can reach over through Sherry and smack my arm if I get it wrong. The commission has to adopt their report, and then the city council has 30 days to reject by 2/3 of. I know it's 30, but he's the one that's making me nervous about it. It's 208 dot something, and then 6 members have to reject the proposal in order for it to come into effect. So just the next thing we will do is see their proposal, and then we will have that option to consider it. So.
And Mr. President, real quick, if I may, just one more step in our process. When we get to the end of the process and we're making our determinations, I believe it was 2 cycles ago, we switched over into a process where longer in the past, the commission used to send over one letter of determination that covered all of the positions. We didn't think that was playing fair to the council or to anyone that's being governed by this process, that each decision should rest on its own. So we started moving determination letters based upon positions. So the mayor has a letter, the clerk has a letter, et cetera. It creates a little more work for Sherry, of course, and we couldn't get anything done without Sherry. Let me emphasize that point. But I think it's created a better process since we went to that system. So that's what you're going to be seeing when our work is done. You're going to get 5 letters to take a look at.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot that.
It's all right. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Milo? All right, Derek, thanks for your time and thanks for your work on the commission. We appreciate your years of service on that, and hopefully we'll have a fully stocked commission for you at the end of this evening. So.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council.
You're welcome. Thank you. And speaking of the appointment vacancy interview this evening, we did hear through staff that Ms. O'Rourke is running a little behind in traffic. So if y'all indulge just a little bit, we're going to call down the Board of Water and Light to discuss their annual audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Didn't warn them this was happening, but I imagine they're prepared to do so. So. Good evening. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening. For those that don't know me, I'm Scott Taylor, Chief Financial Officer, Lansing Board of Water and Light. I think everyone knows Heather, our Assistant General Manager. As I'm sure you're aware, per the city charter, the BWL must have an audit completed every year by October 15th. The results are then presented to our board at the BWL for acceptance, and then we file them with the city clerk. So we're here tonight to follow up on that filing by sharing a few highlights from our audit with you and to address any questions that you may have. Anything we can answer tonight, we're happy to, and if we need to get back with you, we'll bring back additional information. Our most recent financial audit was for our fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. The audit was conducted by Baker Tilly. They are a firm that serves many public power clients and is very well known in the industry. I'm happy to report that we received a clean audit. We received an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance an audit can provide, and there were no findings or recommendations. Additionally, we met our bond coverage requirements. If you have the packet in front of you, I'll just give a couple highlights on our balance sheet, which would be page 7 or 8 of the audit, but I believe of the packet it's 19 and 20. A quick look there, you can see that we do have just over $2 billion in total assets now. The largest portion of our assets is our utility plant, which is made up of our generation and distribution facilities to serve our customers, as well as shared buildings, IT systems, et cetera. During the year, we did have a little over $100 million shift from cash and investments to utility plant, and that's mostly due to spending down a portion of our bond proceeds for reinvestment in our infrastructure. We do currently have just over $1 billion in outstanding debt that was put towards financing that infrastructure. Moving on to our income statement, which should be page 9 of the financial statements or 21 in your packet. You can see that our revenues from 24 did increase from about $417 million to $468 million. That's about a $51 million increase. That's partly due to our rate increases that would have been effective in October of 24, as well as increases in sales and pricing of electric energy that we sold on the wholesale market. Any energy that we are able to generate that's beyond what our local customers need, we are able to sell that in the wholesale market. And then any profits made by selling that in the wholesale market helps us keep our rates as low as possible for our ratepayers. Although the revenues were up, the sales volume did result in higher production expenses, which partially offset the revenue increase. However, overall, we were still able to generate a net income of about $27.6 million compared to $9.9 million the prior year. And the 27.6 is much closer to the net income level we need to sustain, to generate on a sustained basis so that we can reinvest in our infrastructure at the level we need to maintain that level of reliability and also operate as efficiently as possible. Those are kind of key highlights from operations, but also within the financial statements, we include information on our retirement plans. I'm happy to report that all of our retirement plans are healthy and they're performing well. Our defined benefit plan is 122% funded, and our post-employment benefit plan is 143% funded. Those can both be found in Note 8 of the financial statements. Those are the prepared highlights, but are happy to answer any questions, like I said, that we can for you tonight, or follow up with you on anything else that we may not be able to answer on the spot.
Are there questions? I have one, and you touched on it, but maybe elaborate just a little bit. You see a $9 million net operating income, or profit, if you will. I'm not an accountant, so
Sure.
Forgive me if I use the wrong words. Compared to $27 million after a rate increase, which was relatively controversial in our public.
Sure.
Can you explain what you said around maintaining reliability and affordability and those types of things? Because there's a lot that goes into what you said, but to the public, they see a 3 or 4, again, not an accountant, at least a 3x increase in revenue, or in profit. So maybe helpful while we have you in this space to explain that.
Sure, absolutely. I appreciate you asking that question. It's good to open that conversation because a lot of people think as a municipal or public utility, you shouldn't generate a return. But the reality is we do need to generate a return to be able to reinvest in our infrastructure. And so we have a target between 4% and 5%. It varies based on our borrowing rate and in the inflation rate. But the idea is we need to generate a net income return because when we reinvest in our infrastructure, the assets we're replacing are at a higher cost than when we put them in service due to inflation. So if we invest in an asset, say, that was $10 million 10 years ago and it has a 10-year life, now when it comes time to replace it, if we only recovered the original $10 million and not an inflationary component, we wouldn't have enough money today to pay for the replacement asset at a $14 or $15 million cost. So the return we target is very much driven by what our borrowing rate is plus what inflation we're experiencing so that we can replace the infrastructure when it's at the end of its useful life.
That makes sense. Thank you. Other questions? Seeing none, I thank you for your time this evening, and we will move on.
Thank you.
Unless there's anything else you want to add? No? Okay. Oh, Heather, are you guys y'all gonna stick around for the Baker Tilly resolution? Okay, thank you. The next, I believe I saw Ms. O'Rourke come in, so we're gonna do our appointment interview for Caitlin O'Rourke for a vacancy on the Elected Officers Compensation Commission, who, if successful this evening, will get right to work on Thursday. Right there, yes. And there's a button on the microphone that says push, and the light will be much brighter when you push it. There you go, yep. There we go. Generally speaking, how these interviews go, tell us a little bit about yourself, what interests you in serving on this particular commission, and then maybe a few questions from the committee, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I'm Caitlin O'Rourke. I'm from Lansing. I was born and raised here. I'm interested in this commission. I also serve on the Power Park Zoo Board and the State Board of Veterinary Medicine, and I've just always liked to be involved in any way that I can, and I care about the city, and I saw a vacancy, so I applied.
All right. Are there questions from the commission, the committee? Councilmember Hussain?
Yeah, just real quick, your application was from, I think, January of 2025.
I think I put the wrong date because I filled it out in January of this year, but I think, January of 2026, I wasn't ready for the 26 yet, so I did fill it out in 2026.
Okay, fantastic. And then the only other thing, do you still work for Capital Fundraising Associates?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You do? Okay. And I don't know much about this particular firm. This group does or does not engage in local political fundraising activity?
We don't do political fundraising. We do nonprofit fundraising
Okay.
for mostly social service organizations, but also economic development work as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any questions? Other further questions? No? All right. Well, thank you for making time. That was easy. We tonight's a little out of order because we're going to vote after public comment, but
Okay.
We'll stick around here, and then if you want to stick around to our 7 o'clock meeting, we can, if the final vote results in a positive, you can be sworn in tonight. If not, you can make an appointment with
Okay.
the city clerk
Sounds
tomorrow.
good.
All right, thank you. The next item on our agenda, let me get back to that screen real quick, is it's item E, the New Hope Community Center, the Nest at 332 South Townsend. We have with us no stranger to the 10th floor, Shelby Fryer, who's going to talk with us about this. And y'all will remember on the committee, we're having Shelby here with us tonight because there was some urgency behind their rezone request, and we didn't want, no one felt comfortable asking you to vote the same night of the public hearing without having a chance to have some space between hearing the presentation and the public hearing and the vote. So the anticipated timeline is to vote on the 23rd of this month, right after the public hearing, pending any issues, but this gives us a chance to hear directly from Ms. Fryer and the entity so that you can be thinking about those questions ahead of time. Obviously, if something comes up, we can change our schedule, but I know they're operating under some tight timelines in terms of relocation of existing facilities, construction timelines, and things like that. So that is why we're having this a little bit out of order than one would normally expect it. So Shelby, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Nice to be back. There should be a PowerPoint in your packet. Can everybody see it? Is it also on TV? I can't see the screens. Is it showing? Not yet?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Great. So thank you for the introduction. Happy to be here tonight. Again, Shelby Fryer. I have been working in finance and operations, lots of different roles the last 2 decades or so of my life. And so I was asked about a year ago to help New Hope Community Center, which is the shelter that's located on Larch, that big white and blue striped building. If you're familiar, it's about a 5-story building. Was asked to kind of come in and take a look at operations and see what we could do to kind of strengthen them and make sure it was solvent. It didn't take long to figure out that that building, for lots of reasons, didn't make any sense anymore. So I know the folks from development and planning have already heard this pitch, so I'll try not to spend too much time on it here. But if I push the green button, did that change the slide? How are we looking? Okay. So in the kind of current landscape of kind of shelter services, big things happened this last year. Council approved a rezone from City Rescue Mission a couple years ago, for those that were on. Remember them moving to the Kalamazoo site. So one of the things that helps me kind of visualize this, and you guys know downtown, so this helps, but there should be a map in front of you. I can't see the screen. Okay. In the top right-hand corner, you'll see an X, and that's where our current shelter is located, the New Hope Community Center. And right across the street, you'll see a yellow star, and that used to be City Rescue Mission's, what they called their drop-in area, and they did about 70 folks there every night. And then also that star a little further down in the center of the page, where they did 100 men right across from the Meijer there on Michigan Avenue. So between our kind of three sites here, New Hope was doing about 200 a night or so. Of families, veterans, men and women singles. So between our three sites, we had about 400 homeless in this really tight 3-block corridor. But what was kind of unique about our services is that we also do day center services, or day shelter. So folks that are exited from overnight shelters typically would come to New Hope and see case management, do their laundry. We have McLaren's Mobile Clinic come twice a week, receive services, work with case management on trying to achieve, vital documents or a housing goal or a plan. Jobs, things like that. So it became, kind of a very critical hub for those services to be given to those participants that came through our doors. So shortly after City Rescue Mission moved, which you'll see kind of on the bottom left-hand corner, and it's about a 1.2 mile walk, or about a half an hour or so, oftentimes with a lot of belongings on your back, which is a pretty tough commute for folks. We started seeing our numbers at the day center really become kind of all over the place. Sometimes we'd have a lot of folks, sometimes we wouldn't, and a lot of it was dependent on weather. So obviously, if you're staying at City Rescue Mission and it's pouring down rain, you're probably not going to make the hike over to us, a mile and a half away. So for lots of reasons, this building started not making a lot of sense, because we wanted to partner with the other shelters in the area to become the most efficient as we could. So in addition to the building not making sense financially and operationally, City Rescue Mission also significantly expanded their capabilities. So they're now doing just about 400 folks overnight at their new building. And so we started looking at, how can we become more efficient in our area? And so we started looking at, where could we move that would make more sense? And so you'll see on, hopefully we're on the same map now. Do you see a new map? Okay, much closer. So we looked at a new site that was 0.2 miles away, or really kitty corner from the City Rescue Mission. So you can see it from parking lot to parking lot. It becomes much more accessible for folks. You'll see right across the street is the courthouse. A lot of our folks need vital docs like birth certificates, or need to visit friend of the court, or for other reasons go visit that courthouse. So our folks are there a lot anyways. Also, Rudder Park, right across the street. One of the things that we noticed in our area, in our old areas, when we have lots of families with kids, there really isn't a place to play off Larch. It's kind of a busy street. It's really tough to cross, especially if you don't have a vehicle. So that building, again, for another reason, didn't make a lot of sense. So we're really excited about this new site that our families can go enjoy, Rudder Park, right across the street. And then, of course, a block down is the library and CATA. So really all these services now start making a lot more sense and really put us all in one corridor. I did receive some feedback. Somebody on the Planning Commission had asked the question, well, are you bringing too many folks to this area? Is this going to be a problem? And my response was fairly simple. One, we're moving families and veterans, and we're only right now allowed to have up to 56 heads and beds overnight, so it's a fairly small shelter in comparison. And also our day center. So again, we're the only ones that are going to be open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So as City Rescue Mission releases folks around 8 in the morning, they have no place else to go until 5 p.m. when they're able to come back in and receive services. So one of the critical things that we'll be able to do is, again, bring those day center services or day shelter to that area, so those folks have a place to go all day and receive help from our case management. So this is a picture of the building. I'm sure you've been in it. It's the old Beer and Wine Association building. It's a beautiful spot. It's about 20 years old. It's just a nice feel. So if you've walked into New Hope Community Center, it's a lovely building, but it's old, it's run down. We have issues with it constantly. So this provides a much better just feeling for folks to come into and feel special being there. You'll see on top here we have kind of 2 floors. It's kind of a bi-level. So the first level, as you walk in, you can see where it says that blue reception area in the middle. Folks will be able to come in. We do mail services for several hundred folks. In fact, Chris Pope and I just came across each other in a meeting, and he said, I have 300 people registered to vote from your building. And I said, yes, we've got to get that figured out. So we'll work through those types of issues, but we do lots of mail services, which is a really big need for our population. We also will have kind of a mini laundromat, so folks can come in and wash clothes even if they're not staying with us overnight. And then you'll see, of course, our veteran shelter, and then, of course, our family shelter on kind of that main floor. And then in the kind of garden level view, if you will, when you walk in, is our day center where folks can come in and, again, receive all those services, those case management needs. We're adding a food pantry that will be open a lot more hours. So right now you'll notice a lot of food pantries might be open, Sundays 12 to 2 or whatever, kind of a window of time. And our goal is to be open at least 12 hours a day for anybody that needs it. So we're working with the food bank to help stock that and put that plan into motion here. And then another thing we're really excited about, that little green box that says ADA shower. We have a lot of folks from encampments that want to come in and use our facilities. And in our current building, it's really tough to do that. And so we're excited to be able to offer, even if you're not with us overnight, you can still come in, take a shower, get a meal, check your mail, see case management, see a doctor, those kind of crucial human services. We do have, as President Spatafor mentioned, we're up for a rezone, obviously, to make this happen. And I believe it's scheduled for public hearing on the 23rd. I know that was a lot and a little. Happy to answer any questions, or if you have questions later, my contact's on the bottom. Please reach out, and welcome anybody through the building as a tour if you guys want to see the new site and get a feel for kind of in proximity to where it is with the neighborhood, but we're all very excited about it.
Before we move on to questions real quick, we had a few folks join us in the public. Those wishing to make public comment this evening for the committee of the whole, there is a sign-up sheet back there, and as soon as we are done with the presentation portion of the agenda, we'll move on to public comment and close that sign-up. So if you're wishing to make public comment, there are sign-up sheets in the back, and our interns here will help pass them along. So sorry to interrupt your presentation, but we had some new folks join us. So Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. Thanks for being here today, Shelby, and thanks for presenting to Development and Planning. I think you answered it, but I just wanted to make sure. So when you're opening during the day, is that just going to be strictly to the veterans and families, or anybody from the public?
Anybody that wants to come in.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hussein.
And I may have missed it. Is there a gap between New Hope closing and then the Nest opening? And if so, what do we do in terms of disruption of services and things like that?
Things I've lost lots of sleep over, yes. So one of the things that New Hope used to do, or we're still kind of in transition of doing, is the adult shelter for men and women singles as well. And so for us right now, we were serving just shy about 200 a night. And so to only be able to do 60 at our new site is quite a difference. What's helped us is that City Rescue Mission just finished their expansion. So they're able to take all of our men and women so that we don't have to displace anybody, nobody gets put out. So everybody that's currently being sheltered will still maintain an option for shelter if that's what they choose to move with us, which I think it's going to be a better place, so I hope they move. But all the men and women won't be put out. They'll all have a place to go.
And then real quick, I think New Hope, if I recall, New Hope Health Center was closed, I think, like 2024 maybe. You said that medical services are still provided twice a week. Who's providing those, and will that travel as well?
Yep, McLaren Mobile Clinic comes out right now twice a week, and they've been exceptional to work with, but they also have Family Med that they'll bring out too as necessary, so they visit anybody that wants to see it. Even if you don't have insurance, you can still see a doctor on the bus, which is amazing. If you haven't seen that mobile clinic, they have basically 2 doctor's offices that roll on a truck, and they do all the intake things at our office, and then also able to prescribe whether it's medication directly to folks, but they've been absolutely incredible to work with.
And then maybe just one last question. I know that earlier this year, the financial issues and things like that were reported on, and there were some things I think that New Hope did. I think reduction of food, meals, I think snacks on the weekend, things like that. So moving forward, because we know what your skill set is, right? Moving forward, what is the plan to ensure that this kind of doesn't happen again with this new site? Are there committed funding sources? Those types of things.
I think what was really challenging for New Hope is that Volunteers of America several years ago ran into same financial issues, and so Holy Cross kind of came in to save it. but didn't necessarily put the right supports in place to kind of help make sure that didn't continue draining from its parent company, Holy Cross. So for years and years and years, Holy Cross subsidized New Hope to a point at which it harmed them to operate. And that's when the board kind of said, look, we've got to make a change. And so to your point of how will this be different, one, it's a much smaller site that becomes a lot more manageable to kind of operate on a regular basis. The proximity in which we're serving folks becomes much easier. So I think through kind of operational efficiencies, our current building breaks down. I mean, I'm afraid to ride the elevator. It breaks down all the time. So I think just things of not having to update that building, being able to manage our grants better with the people in the programs. We had lots of misalignment when I got there. So I'm confident we'll be able to run that spot more efficiently. And also, too, I think there is a lot of support and fundraising that needs to happen in this area to kind of keep that extra income coming in. So you're right, we're heavily grant-based. That's always a concern. If all of a sudden, the feds change the rules or pull funding, I mean, we're all kind of in that boat. Most nonprofits are. So we're hopeful that none of those things will happen. But again, trying to put those things in place so that in case something did happen, we could still operate. But I've been really impressed by this community and how much we've been able to fundraise in a really short period of time for this initiative. So I'm hopeful we won't run into those same issues. But again, that's always, as any business, right, it's always a worry.
Councilmember Carter.
Thank you, President Spatafor. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the presentation again. You mentioned that there's going to be some overnight shelter for veterans at this new location. Are you doing any other services for those veterans? Any wraparound services, getting them into housing? I know there's a program that's been out for some decades now, and I didn't know if there was any other programs or partners that you were working with.
Yep, certainly. So our grant is through the VA, and the program and the grant are very specific, and there are certain milestones that each veteran that comes into the program has to meet to stay into that program. And their goal, of course, is immediate housing, right, to get something more permanent for those folks as they come in. So they're able to connect us, whether it's different vouchers through the VA program, depending on what those kind of outliers are as those folks come to us. So most of the programs would be through the VA, which we have support with them. We have really incredible regional people that come on site pretty regularly to help us kind of with those challenges. So the VA is a great partner. Our goal is to kind of also reach out and expand to some local VFWs and things like that also for funding and support. But I'd say the VA is our biggest partner in helping, connect us with those programs.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we're out of questions for you, so I appreciate you making time this evening. As a reminder, the public hearing on this item will actually be on the 23rd, if we set it. On the 23rd, excuse me, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, we are now, any more forms back there? We are now closed for the public comment portion of the meeting, and we will move into public comment. Our first and only public comment for this evening is Loretta Stanaway. Ms. Stanaway, you know the drill.
All too well. Okay, first thing is this Holy Cross presentation. We have not heard, or at least I've not heard or seen anything in the media about what will happen with that building on Larch when it's emptied. Who's going to take it over? Is it going to be blighted? Is it going to be empty? Is it going to be reused? Very important questions I think we need to seek answers on. Secondly, going to the Compensation Commission, one of the questions that I hoped would be asked and was not, at least I didn't catch it anyway, was how they have evaluated whether public incomes and wages have kept up with inflation at the same levels the council and the clerk and the mayors have or not, and what's the disparity gap there. Also on the deep green, the vote or the resolution to put it up for a public hearing for the vote for Lot 49, and then again related on the back the rezoning issues. I think we have a lot of work to do yet before any of those final votes take place. For instance, it's a little cart before the horse to buy the lot before you know if you're going to get rezoned to use it. So I think that needs to be looked at. I think that conditional rezonings are rarely good, and this is not an exception to that situation. I want some more documentation before any of those votes take place. I want to see documented unbiased reaction from England to the local communities that have had their businesses placed in them by Deep Green? Did the public get what they thought they were going to get? Has there been acceptance or has there been resistance? I want to know the background of the third party that might be signed on to run the fuel cells. And I want to know their historical background, not just by the word of mouth of somebody from BWL saying, oh yeah, we looked at them, they're good. I'm sorry, I don't trust that. I mean, there's been too much, especially in this particular situation, too many surprises. First off, we had the surprise of the power generation not all being initially what we were told and needing the fuel cells. And now we have the surprise of this possible third party running the fuel cells. So I don't want surprise number 3. I want to know upfront a historical background on that third party that would run these fuel cells. And I think that, the board's done far too many things that have eroded or eclipsed our trust in them to take it at their word. We need documents. Thank you.
Thank you, and that is our only public comment for the evening, which moves us into our discussion and action items. The first one is the appointment of Caitlin O'Rourke as the at-large member of the Elected Officers Compensation Commission with a term expiring October 1, 2027. Vice President Palavanaglou.
Thank you. We did hear from Ms. O'Rourke just a few moments ago and her desire to participate in the Elected Officers Compensation Commission. I would move the resolution for her appointment as the at-large member for the Elected Officers Compensation Commission with a term to expire October 1st, 2027.
That is a proper motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the designation of Baker Tilly as the Lansing Board of Water and Light External Auditor, and we'll ask Heather to join, or the folks from BWL to join us back down at the well to discuss this designation. There is a requirement in our new charter as well as our old charter. Just different numbers, that this be done through the city council. So if you want to explain that real quick, thank you very much.
Good evening once again. Again, my name is Scott Taylor. We're here tonight. Our auditor selection process goes through our normal procurement process. However, as just mentioned, since the city charter requires that our external auditor be designated by the city council, once our normal process is complete, we bring the selection recommendation to our BWL board, and if approved, then we bring it here to city council. Just for awareness of how our normal process works, so you understand how we got here, is we do reach out directly to multiple firms that we believe can meet our service requirements. We also post a request for proposal on our website as well as in our vendor platform. We did receive 3 bids in all. The bids were evaluated by our normal evaluation process. There were over 20 criteria that we evaluated the bidders on. Baker Tilly was selected as the best evaluated bid prior to cost consideration, and they were also the lowest cost bid. We do have experience working with Baker Tilly. As you probably heard in the prior presentation, they are current auditors. They issued our current opinion. So they have extensive public utility auditing experience. They're well known in the industry. That helps them understand our operations. It also makes them an excellent resource for us throughout the year when we have questions about how others in the industry may be addressing certain current issues. Our working relationship with them has been very good. Because they're our current auditor, however, we have notified them that they would be required, in order for them to be awarded this bid, they would need to rotate their principal auditor, which they have agreed to do, so that we have a fresh set of eyes and independence, both in appearance and in fact. Our standard contract term is 5 years, and that's what we're recommending here for this selection. Those are the only items I have for you, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there other questions for Scott or Heather? Okay, seeing none, we'll need a motion to, make sure I get it right here. Motion to approve the resolution.
Yeah, I move the resolution for the designation of Baker Tilly as Lansing Board of Water and Light External Auditor for the years of 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, and 2030.
That is a proper motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is the resolution for the operating agreement between the Lansing Entertainment and Public Facilities Authority. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you. I don't know if you'd like me to give a summary of the same caliber that I provided last time, but this is essentially the extension of the operating agreement between City and LEPFA in order to accommodate the duration of the contract that LEPFA has with, it was ASM Global, now it is Legends Global. I think that's reflected in the resolution at this point. The main thing is the date push, and then the other two items are that the city market, which was described as one of the properties that is managed, has been formally pulled out. It's been pulled out through other means already. Groesbeck is being put in as one of the facilities that is being managed, and then finally they have the ability to market naming rights that are not the stadium or other currently named items.
Thank you. Are there other questions or comments? Yeah, Councilmember.
I just missed it. You said that they have agreed to manage what?
So LEPFA is managing Groesbeck right now, and
Right.
that's been through the course of basically a separate agreement that gets renewed periodically, and this would be to actually put Groesbeck in just as one of those properties. The thing that's coming out is the city market.
I think he said naming rights is what.
Oh, naming rights.
Oh, name rights. Okay, perfect. I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, they have the ability to market naming rights now.
And I'll remind folks that we asked the question the last time at the table that the city has the veto authority over the naming rights.
That's correct.
We need a motion.
Here, I move the resolution on the operating agreement for the Lansing Entertainment and Public Facilities Authority.
It's a proper motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to be placed on file as the boards and commissions term expirations report. It is relatively self-explanatory, but we do have Mark Lawrence here from the administration if you have any questions, but it is in your report to be placed on file. Vice President Palomino.
Thanks. Just a quick question for Mark. I know that, there's, as of last year, I developed dashboard to better understand who is applying for these positions. So we have all of these term expirations out here for June 30th of 2026. Can you give us an idea of when we may expect to receive those referred applicants from the mayor's office?
Yes, I can generally. I can tell you that is a charter, or a deadline that's written in charter. I want to say it's mid-May. No, it's earlier than that because you have to act on them by like the third week in May. I'll let you know. It's written down. I have it downstairs. I can tell you very shortly.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that we would receive those prior to the expiration date.
Oh,
of the
certainly,
June
well
30th.
before. Yes, you'll have it many meetings before you have to act on them.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, I guess I'm just curious in terms of, every administration does it a little bit differently. So in terms of those folks that are seeing their terms expire, I don't know, within 6 months, is there an effort to reach out to them to just see if there's a desire to continue on in that role?
Yeah, we reach out to everyone who is up for reappointment to inquire as to whether or not they're interested in serving, to being reappointed. Yeah.
And then internally, what are some of the things that you guys take into consideration when there is someone that wants to continue in that role? And obviously you guys are trying to make a determination whether to reappoint or not. What are the types of things you guys are looking at?
A lot of that is up to the mayor's discretion. We certainly look at who has applied. We look at the list of applications we have sitting. One of the factors would be how long they've served on the board. Obviously, again, we ask them if they want to. So in this case, if they do want to, we'll take that into consideration. Again, I'm probably forgetting things, but again, a lot of it is really just up to the mayor's discretion.
And then lastly, when deciding not to reappoint somebody, how is that communicated to them?
To the individual?
Yes.
Could be, I mean, it's communicated individually. It's not going to be put, on a mass resolution and their name be left off. They will be communicated with directly, one way or another, either via the mayor or through staff.
Councilmember Navarez Martinez.
Yeah, so looking at this list, it looks like we have 9 Ward 2 seats coming up in June. I think the most of, and everything else seems to be at large. How are we recruiting people for these, and are we doing like Ward 2 specific outreach, and how is that happening? And
We have, on occasion, we'll post either generally on social media or through our neighborhood news that we're looking for appointees to certain boards. Sometimes it's a specific board if we're having trouble finding people for specific boards. Again, through sort of, a lot of times we get folks that are more organic. They'll write in or call on some matter, and we'll kind of keep them, in the back of our heads and say, oh, maybe this person would like to serve on a park board. They called about a parks issue. They're in, a ward that we need. We'll reach out to them and say, is this something you'd be interested in? We regularly ask council members to help us, especially ward council members, to help us find folks. The second ward is a good example, probably the best example of where we have the most trouble finding ward
you
seats.
can come to my constituent contact meetings.
Certainly,
Talk to folks
we would
there
be
for sure.
we would be happy to, because yes, I know that there are, as Councilman Garza can attest, that's has always been a challenge, at least for as long as I've been sort of coordinating boards and commissions. So,
Councilmember Carter.
Thank you. And in addition to the social media and attending ward meetings or whatnot and requesting from council, have you thought about also engaging in some of the neighborhood association meetings too, just to share a little bit more about each particular position and what it all entails?
certainly, yeah.
And then also, prior to us getting the application, could we confirm that the application is updated? Because I know
We do,
previously we've
yes.
seen some.
The new charter
Updated.
requires us to get new applications for reappointees.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I need a motion to place this on file.
I move to place the boards and commission term expiration report on file.
That is a proper motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is a budget amendment for fiscal year 2025-2026, second quarter. We have with us Jake Brower to present this item. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Lansing City Council. My name is Jake Brower. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for the city. Among the roles I provide is that of monitoring the City of Lansing budget. So overall, throughout the course of the year, we have the opportunity to look at our revenues and expenditures and make adjustments as needed for differences between the underlying assumptions when we originally proposed a budget to this council and through your deliberation adopted it, to new circumstances that require a change from our original operating plan. And so overall, we have several adjustments that we'd like to bring to your attention for your approval for the city's budget. So as we have completed the FY25 audit and based on historical and year-to-date reports, we can anticipate some additional revenue projected from income tax and interest earnings and reduced revenues for charges for services. In addition, overall, as we've been receiving a few hundreds of thousands of opioid dollars every year, we've also been earning some interest revenues on those accounts that we've recognized as of the past fiscal year end that have not been fully appropriated. And so although we've had the appropriation authority through your budget policies to carry forward the funding that has been appropriated to date, we have some additional funds that we'd like to bring forward that we will allocate through our Human Relations and Community Services Department, Fire Department, and Police Department to provide opioid remediation services throughout the city of Lansing. And so, in addition to this, we have updates from the state of Michigan's January Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference, where they gather a number of experts in order to evaluate the economic conditions of the state of Michigan. This is a preliminary estimate that will be finalized in May to develop the state's budget itself. However, it provides some important insights, particularly for our revenue sharing and our road funding as well, which is experiencing some significant changes due to tax law changes adopted in last year's state budget. In addition, we have a grant from the Department of Justice, which will be utilized for the hiring of 6 police officers for a period of at least 4 years, which we are going to combine with the state's Public Safety Revenue Sharing Fund, which was adopted last year. And so this was funding that we've had in our budget and then removed from our budget for a couple of years now, where the state has proposed this funding and then ultimately not carried it out. But this year it made its way fully into the state's budget. We have updated numbers for what we project to receive, and we expect to receive those funds in April or May in one large lump sum payment. And so we're ready to move forward with the plans that we've talked about for a while now, and the hiring of those officers. We have also already hired a neighborhood safety officer who is going to be starting our Office of Neighborhood Safety in a collaborative approach with our Advanced Peace program in order to make sure that we address all aspects of public safety, whether it is enforcement, intervention, and prevention of violent incidents. And so overall, the city of Lansing is committed to addressing public safety from every direction that we can. Within the topic of public safety, we also have an actuary analysis for the city's required pension contributions. So this is us paying our bills that we've compensated our employees over time. So our actuary determined that when they ran their analysis that we should contribute an additional $1 million over the amount that we had budgeted based on the previous actuary report. And so having the funding available from increased income taxes year over year, we decided to be responsible and set that aside to make sure that we make that full payment. Overall, on the flip side, we estimated a bit of a reduction on the employee retirement side, but just to be safe, we factored that increased cost, and we're letting that decreased cost on the employee retirement side just remain in place for now. Next, I would say, is our major and local street funding. And so this comes to the changes in gas tax funding from the state level. And so due to the changes that the state adopted in their tax structure, we will ultimately expect an additional $6 million per year for our major and local streets. And this will have a tremendous impact on being able to catch up on long overdue infrastructure needs throughout the city. And so this year, we're navigating the specific timing of when these revenues are arriving. And so our fiscal year is slightly off from the fiscal year of the state of Michigan, which runs from October to September of each year, where we are July through June. And so the effects of the state bill took effect about 3 months into our fiscal year, at which case, for the immediate term, there was a drop in revenues or disbursements from state and local funds. But then in January, as the new taxes came into effect, we are going to start seeing the increases be distributed throughout to local governments. And so kind of looking at monthly reports from the state of Michigan from previous years, guessing kind of around March to April is when we'll really see those benefits materialize. absent any excitement from the state in changing the plan that is already before us. I think lastly, I think that we set aside a $100,000 transfer to our disaster contingency fund. So this is a fund that was established a few years ago just to respond to natural disasters without having to immediately go on an emergency basis before this body. We would have the funds available, and then from time to time, as we have available resources, just put a little money aside in this fund that we can address those challenges as they occur. And so we've fortunately, despite a lot of rain and cold weather, we didn't experience anything dramatic in this past storm, but these funds are there for when we need it to respond without having to worry about the budgetary impact of any individual major weather event or public emergency. And so with all of that said, I am available to speak to any questions you might have.
I have one before I open it up. Jake, you talked about the disaster contingency fund, and I just got some information today about our expenditures on Code Blue were about 50% higher than we budgeted for. You can quote me on the exact number, or you don't quote me on the exact number, but it was somewhere around 40,000 budgeted, and we ended up spending around 63,000. Probably money well spent, obviously, but is there somewhere where we define what the disaster contingency fund can be used on, and to maybe, I'm thinking of like in future, if winters are harsher, more cold, those types of things, do we have a place to build this into the budget to plan for those types of things?
Yeah, and so the disaster contingency fund comes from language that is in the Michigan Uniform Chart of Accounts related to this particular fund, which can be used both for the planning and response to natural and man-made disasters. And so both storms and man-made events can be, these funds can be used towards Code Blue. I would presume would be an eligible use of funding for this fund if we needed it. We have carried forward some basic human needs funding, and in part, one of the effects of recognizing this revenue is that we took the 1.35% basic human needs formula and made sure that that was carried down into the additional basic human needs that will go directly towards these additional Code Blue costs. And so very fortunate to be able to recognize that and meet the needs of Lansing.
Thank you. I ask in the context of as we start planning for next year. It's good.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Mr. Brower, for being here.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Regarding that Department of Justice federal grant we received and leveraging the 3 years of public safety revenue, is that more than enough money to keep those 6 officers on for 4 years? And does it exceed the 4 years? What's the plan moving forward to make sure we retain those officers?
Yes, so I have a scheme for this, and so I'm rather excited. So with the public safety revenue sharing dollars, we have 3 years of funding promised from the state. The governor has removed the intent language in her budget proposal to presumably extend it beyond this period, but we're planning on that funding eventually running out. The Department of Justice grants, similarly, is 3 years. They require us to keep the additional staff on for a 4th year, but they only fund a fraction of these employees, about $125,000 per officer. And so officers are rather expensive. They do great work. And so we're going to be combining these 2 sources of funding in order to stretch that out and slowly build it into our city's budget using this public safety revenue sharing fund that we're creating by each year adding an incremental $250,000 above what we contributed the previous year. By the time we reach that approximately 6 years, we'll be contributing at first to increasing the balance of this fund, then drawing it down, and then ultimately by the end of that period, we will have it built into our general fund budget such that we can absorb both the additional 6 officers and the Office of Neighborhood Safety entirely within our general fund without any disruption to services or funding. And so that is through the combination of state funding, federal funding, and our own local contribution. It approximately amounts to about 15% of existing support throughout the city for our Advanced Peace program, 38% new general fund support, and 46% state and federal funding, lasting us about 6 years of operations and then ultimately landing on our feet on the other side.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Now that we've got Jake all wound up, anyone got any other questions? All right, looks like we're good. Thank you very much, Jake.
Thank you all.
Appreciate the work.
Appreciate it.
With no further questions, I'll entertain a motion for the resolution.
Thank you. I move the resolution regarding the budget amendment for the fiscal year 2025 to 2026, second quarter.
This is a proper motion. All those in favor, any further discussion? I'm sorry. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is the resolution setting the public hearing for the sale of city property, Act 7, 2025, Lot 49, 200 block of South Cedar. This is not a new item to the committee. However, there have been some changes in the buy-sell agreement, and I might flip it over to our city attorney to walk through the high-level version of those before we vote to set the public hearing.
Certainly. That's correct. The act to the Planning Commission is unchanged, and the Planning Commission's review is unchanged because the question to them and the analysis of the packet and the big packet return was about the actual sale of public property. Turning to the agreement, the things that changed are that now included in the agreement is that the project would comply with Lansing's zoning or noise ordinance, and that specifically it would not be eligible for any exemption due to either being in an industrial zone or for having an industrial use. The next thing that changed is that language was added to include a financial penalty if they did not hit the employment targets that were stated in the agreement. I think it says that they would, once they're up and operating, they would have 18 full-time equivalent employees. And so now there's a dollar penalty if they have less than that per year that they would pay to the city. And that's a number that is reflective of fundamentally what the city would be making on a 1% income tax for those individuals. That's how that was calculated. And then those are the two big things. The only other thing that I'll reference is that that I will note is that there's a reference to the Lansing Building Authority as a party that may have an interest in one of the parcels, and that's because when we were doing some title work on our end, all of the city's records indicate that the city owns and operates, we do and have for a very long time, those lots. But we found that there was a takings, an eminent domain action in the 90s for the southern lot, and that was taken by the Lansing Building Authority. And we are still trying to locate the transfer between the Building Authority to the city. But the Building Authority is aware of that and has already voted to convey whatever it has to the city or to the purchaser if the purchase buy-sell agreement were to be approved by the council. And so the language in there just says that if the buy-sell is approved and it goes actually through the process, and I guess I'll just say that if a buy-sell is approved, closing does not happen immediately. Closing happens quite a ways down the road. And as everybody's doing their due diligence, that's when title work gets worked up, and then a title agent comes forward and says, hey, wait a second, we think that this entity might have some interest in this. At that point, the way the language in the agreement is stated is that the building authority would work with the title agent and the city to give whatever interest it has to the purchaser to clarify that. So that's actually the most words for probably the most boring part of it, but those are the primary changes in this agreement.
Thank you. Are there questions? Councilmember Navarez Martinez?
Was the property taken for putting a parking lot?
It sure was. In 1993, 1991, sometime in the early 90s, it was taken. At that time, I will say that there was a hotel that had been operating there that was not of the finest repute, and the city had an interest in that not being there. It was taken for the purpose of being a parking lot. And then sometime later, there was, I'm getting way into it, but there was a potential a deal for the city to do a swap. This is how we found these deeds. There was a potential swap to be done between that parcel and then the parcel to the northwest of it, because that person wanted to develop something on the tip of that little peninsula, and then the city would move its parking lot north a little bit. And then 2008 happened. The company that was wanting to do the land swap went out of business, and then that property became available, and we bought it up and had 2 parking lots. And it's been 2 parking lots for a very long time. Sorry.
Other questions? Councilmember Hussein.
And I'm just trying to think of the public pledges that were made during the presentation. Is there any inclusion of, I'm thinking of public park, public art, green space, the planting of trees and shrubs, all these promises that were made, was that included in there?
I will say the way, because of where it is and because of what this document is, there's not a specific pledge regarding, there's not a specific description of green space or a specific description of art. The way that it's described in here is that they shall comply with the dimensional and with the locational, essentially, requirements, and also building material requirements of DT3 otherwise, so that it looks like it belongs in DT3. And then that is as is verified and consistent with the approved site plan. I will note that regarding screening and everything else, because they've got to meet siting requirements, that downtown is supposed to have pretty tight lot lines. So you want building massing towards the edge as much as possible, close to the streets. And so much of their locational, and if you look at I think it's included in the packet a couple times, it puts the building pretty close. There is a row of trees that's along one of the edges, and that's consistent. And they've been talking, I think, zoning and planning to figure out what will comply with DT3. In terms of art, there's nothing specifically in this document referring to that, but it could be in their site plan.
Okay, and then, and I don't know, it's for Mark or Greg. We talked a little bit a few weeks back about the appraisal being from 2023. And I certainly know that there could be some danger, right? In having a new appraisal, and it's kind of a rarity, but the value of the property could actually go down. Has there been any discussion, even with regard to like, formal kind of market assessment? And I'm thinking of like comp sales in the area, market conditions. No?
Certainly no formal appraisal. I mean,
I'm talking informal.
Informal.
Yeah.
Not to my awareness. We handle stuff, my office handles stuff in the MTT all the time, and we handle parking lots. I will say that by my observation, $1.4 million for 2 parking lots is pretty high. But I'm happy to look at that and get back to you with comps if you want.
That'd be great.
Seriously.
Excellent. Thank you.
Other questions? All right, we need a motion on the resolution to set the public hearing.
Thank you. I move the resolution to set a public hearing on Act 7, 2025, the sale of city property, Lot 49, 200 block of South Cedar Street, for March 23rd, 2026 at 7 p.m.
Thank you. That is proper motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Last item on our agenda this evening is the resolution pertaining to the introduction of the second public hearing of Z3 2026. There was a question at public comment about what happens to the previous site, and it's my understanding that there is a developer with an option on that site, so that it would not just sit vacant and empty. And Shelby's nodding her head that is a yes. So for those that were curious about the disposition of the vacating site, that is the plan. So any conversation? right, we'll need a motion.
Oh, wait, no.
What you
That's
just talked
different.
about is not the property that the
Oh,
resolution is
I'm
for.
sorry.
Sorry.
How long do I get to blame the time change on things?
You changed the clock already.
Very good. The next item is the introduction and the setting public hearing of Z3 2026. This is the previous items, rezone and use. Is there anything that has changed in this ordinance besides the applicant?
No, and the, who is offering what conditions.
Okay, would you like to?
Sure. Very quickly, the conditions are more robust than they were previously, and they basically match to the conditions for the project that are contained within the development or the buy-sell agreement between the city and Deep Green. The offerers of those conditions are City of Lansing as owner of its parcels, and I think it's 220 South Larch LLC as the owner of its parcel. That's the Gillespie-owned parcel. And then there's also a letter in support of those conditions by the hopeful end user to acknowledge that those are there. And then primary applicant is Deep Green, and city is added as a co-applicant. But otherwise, materials are, I believe, the same.
So to avoid confusion, we're talking about the Deep Green Data Center rezone, not the Nest project. So we're all on the same page before I ask for questions. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, could we please have a motion?
I move the resolution to introduce and set a public hearing for the conditional rezoning of 220 South Larch Street and 3 adjoining parcels on East Kalamazoo Street and South Cedar Street. The conditional rezoning from DT3 Urban Core to Industrial 1, with the public hearing to be set on April 6, 2026 at 7 p.m.
That is a proper motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. With no further business before the committee, we are adjourned at 6:16 p.m.